What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the channel. This is a little bit different than what I've been doing for the last 6 months or so, I should say. I got Vic Vegas coming on. The college basketball season's over, and I'm going to expand the content a little bit and talk to people I find interesting. And there's few people I find more interesting than Vic Vegas. His story from humble beginnings to a lot of success in a lot of different areas of life in his work ethic. But yeah, Vic, I'm super grateful for your time, for you to come back on the channel, on the show, as I expand and diversify my content once again. Vic, how are you doing today?
Oh, I love being your culinary ambassador in your program, man. Are you kidding me? It's an absolute honor.
Let's
You're a
go.
great man. I'm grateful for your friendship, and it's a pleasure to be back.
Yes. No, I came prepared. I came researched. I'm ready to dive on into just your journey some more and pick your brain. And yeah, I'm ready to get on into this. But I had you on about a year ago today, like roughly around a year ago. You were on the channel, and you're a busy man. You have a lot of different irons in the fire. You do a lot of different things. What has changed from last year at this time, March of 2025 to March of 2026?
Okay, I would say what really stands out would be jumping into the digital world. I have a podcast now, the Talk and Chew podcast with my best friend Donnie Fobbs. I was always looking to do something with him, and I didn't want to go into business with my best friend because I wanted to stay his best friend.
Yeah.
And it came up, the opportunity was put before us, and I said, there it is. It was something we spoke of years ago. And you know the deal. It's not so easy to just get started and start doing it, but all the cards just fell in the right place. I was able to recruit my best friend. He jumped in, and we've just filmed our 33rd episode. So we are rocking, my man.
Yeah, no, you're killing it. It's really good. I was telling you before we started here, just with, I mean, the world can be a pretty intense place, all the different stories and headlines throughout the world, but your podcast and your vibe, you guys take a lot of people from the Vegas area and kind of give them a spotlight. But I don't even know who these people are, but I'm out here having fun, learning new things about the Vegas scene, but it's just a really good energy, good vibe. And both you guys, you and Donnie, do a wonderful job. And yeah, I congratulate you for making it to 30 episodes. As I was telling you before, that most podcasts, they give up by episode number 3, and like
Right.
1% makes it past episode 20. And I know you got that work ethic and that grit to just keep on pushing. And I know you're going to do great things with that. But talk
Thank
about it a
you.
little bit
Thank
more. Yeah, we'll talk about it a
Okay.
little bit more with you and Donnie. Donnie's seems like a really cool dude. Just talk about, how did you meet him, and why did you want to jump into the podcast space?
Okay, so I met Donnie 10 years ago at a previous job that I was at. Really, really good place. I was working in the food distribution center, and Donnie was the security guard. And if you
Okay.
look at Donnie, that would be one of the five guesses if you were assuming what he did for a living was security, because he's a big, bold man. But, as my father would say, when he smiles, flowers come out. And he's from New York. I'm from New York. As soon as I said hello, he picked up on my accent. I picked up on his. His first question was, "What was your team?" I said, "New York Giants." He said, "Come over here, man. Give me a hug." And we have been friends ever since, and we are about to celebrate our 10 years of friendship.
That's a wonderful thing. That's very, very cool. And yeah, you guys do a lot. And what I think is really cool is, on top of the lightheartedness of your show and the good vibes and the promoting others and giving them a spotlight and a voice, is Donnie's on a health journey and he's transforming his body before our eyes. And I believe I heard on an episode that you lost like 100 pounds.
Yes,
So
sir, I
before we
did.
talk about what you and Donnie are going through right now and the journey he's on, can you just talk about, when did you get into living a really healthy lifestyle? When did it really hit for you?
Well, as time went on, really seeing the importance of taking care of yourself and having the option to do that, I prefer to live a healthier lifestyle. Sure, I love my snacks and my goodies, but in proportion now. I want to earn that sweet treat at the end of the week. And I just feel that you need to stay connected to your body internally and externally. And it does work. It changes the way you think, the way you feel, the way you move. And I just enjoy the fact that, since so many people are dependent on me, I put them first, and I really feel that I need to be around for them. And I want to be around a long time in this wonderful life. So if I have a chance to preserve myself, I'm going to put that forward. And then everything else is secondary, you know? And in doing that, you learn so much about yourself. I'm going to be 51 years old in June.
Oh,
And
it's out there now.
it's
The
out there,
mysterious
straight up.
age, it's out.
That is the truth. I'm going to be 51 in June, and I'm very blessed to be able to find the issues that I could have had. At one point, I had high blood pressure, so that was a big scare. And high blood pressure leads into things like heart attacks and cardiac arrest, where I said, okay, we're not going to have this. If all I have to do is make some changes and in my mind understand that I need to be here for many reasons and that people are dependent on me and I have to make my statement in this life, I'm going to do it the right way. At the same time, in doing it, being in a position where so many people are watching what you're doing, you get to inspire people and break some of that off to them because if they trust within you and what you do, there's going to be a strong chance that if they were trying to find themselves in the same way, maybe they can piggyback off of what I'm doing, at least to get started until they find themselves and they do it their way. It is a choice, it is an option. But if you make that choice, everything starts changing, man, physically, mentally, emotionally, and even spiritually. And I'm not even a religious guy, but it just comes with the territory.
Sure. And can you just take us through a little timeline here? Am I correct in saying that it was 100 pounds? And what year were you at your heaviest? And then talk about just kind of by the time you're at
Sure.
the weight you are now.
Sure, sure. I was my heaviest in 2000. In 2000, when my brother got married, I the wedding photos are unbelievable. I'll actually send you one of the wedding photos that you can actually put up in this to show our wonderful people that are viewing this what I actually came from. I was 307 pounds, and since then I had went up and down, up and down. And then when I made it onto television in 2007, I was a little bit more lean and healthier than that. I was about 245, 50 pounds, which still wasn't great because it was still in there. I was still a little off. And then as time went on and I got into the 2010, 12 mark, I was going up and down, back and forth because food addiction is real. And if you can't control it, it will haunt you just like alcohol or any type of drug. Finally, in this whole journey, I was stuck at about 250, 260 to 240, which I had the high blood pressure at that point. And about, I'd say 6 or 7 years ago, I went to the doctor. This was before the pandemic. And the doctor said, okay, you have a choice. I can put you on blood pressure medication to, stabilize the situation, or you can start fasting and, taking yourself to the extreme to be able to live a healthier lifestyle and change your diet and exercise more. Now, my exercise was just doing this. It wasn't really the way I was eating and it wasn't the cardio. But what happens is I discover what's known fasting and intermittent fasting, where once you get that going and you light that spark, it becomes the most life changing thing you will ever witness in your life. The fact that I was fasting on weekends, I'd say 3 years ago, I really started fasting hard on weekends and I started doing the intermittent fastings because during the pandemic, I learned how to start cooking for myself again. I don't think I had cooked for myself, even though I was a chef for years. It was a lot of going out and drive through window stuff and, lots of preservatives and all that good fun stuff. But what happened was when I started making my own food, I spaced out my eating, I changed my eating habits. And then you find out that the fasting, you have these cells in your body that are laying dormant that eventually are going to haunt you like a ghost, where your cells get hungry. I have learned the good ones, and it starts eating the bad ones, like literally evicting them like out of your body. And what happens is new cells come into place, the old cells go away, and then things that could have possibly haunted you will most likely not because you're defeating those bad cells in your body. Putting it all together and learning that and realizing it, feeling it, and living it, I kept going with it where I was blessed enough to fulfill what I needed to erase my high blood pressure, change my look, no more puffy face. There were days where I couldn't even close my, fingers. I woke up with my arm numb. And that's when I really said, okay, I have found the antidote. No medication needed. It's what you're doing less of as opposed of doing more of. And once I cracked that code, I didn't really realize how many people were watching me. Even someone like Donnie over the years who was battling food addiction and all of that stuff jumped in and started doing the same thing because I played the guinea pig partially. And the other part was I was trusted. And my message is to people, hey, if this guy can do it, you can definitely do it. Because some people out there have an even stronger mind than me that have not connected with that yet. So, in putting that out there and seeing people do that, it inspires me to keep going and staying there. And it's just a wonderful change of lifestyle where you have someone like your best friend Donnie, who's been watching me over a 10-year period, go up, down, and then finally find myself. He said, hey, I have to do this too now. Where Donnie has changed his life. The doctors are proud of him. He's done everything that he's supposed to do. I think he's probably lost 140, 150 pounds now. He sent me a picture last night of himself. We just saw him the other day. And the joke is, what have you done with Donnie? So it's just one of those universal things that I had to come in contact with myself first, realize what I needed to do to defeat the bad, conquer it with the good, make it part of my lifestyle where it's no longer a chore, but a way of life. And it's just so inspirational that I was able to do that to myself and that the other good ones are tapping into it. And it's actually helping lives and saving them. Where now I feel like that's my purpose. I wasn't sure what it was, but I feel my purpose is to go through things so I can inspire others and show them that it can be done. And that's what happened here. And in this long period of time, over a 26-year period where I went from unhealthy to somewhat healthy, but not quite healthy, to thank the Lord, healthy. And that's pretty much what happened, Matt.
And that's a beautiful thing, getting to go through these struggles, and now that you made it through on the other side, you're bringing others along with you and helping them, and just sharing this might help somebody. And I know a lot about Vic's story, prepping for this interview and prepping for the last one. And there's a reason why I find them so interesting and so inspiring in your story and what you've done over the years. But just to kind of give the audience an idea of just the work ethic that you have, I asked you this last time, but could you take the audience through what a day in the life looks like for you?
Absolutely. So I wake up very early. I wake up at about 4:30 in the morning. I love to watch the moon, leave the shift and the sun to come on in. I love looking up and seeing those wonderful, amazing things out there. It starts my day. It lets me know that the universe is so big out there and playing my part, getting started right in the day. I take my shower, I drink my coffee, I do an AM workout session. I try not to eat anything, especially during the week. It's much easier than it is on the weekend. Once I get my brain right and my focus going and I set up my day, I'll get to work. I will go visit people, restaurants, chefs, food and beverage people, because I do work with a lot of them. I'm a consultant. I work on fixing establishments and really helping people highlight what they do and bring out the best in what they do, as well as the other half of me that, you have food and beverage on this side, you have entertainment and awareness on the other, where I really figure out a way to bring the awareness to situations. So I'm a one stop shop going in the city of Las Vegas now that, don't hold me to the exact statistics, but I feel like we almost have more restaurants than New York now. I am so vested into the food and beverage industry that with the healthy eating and the training and the getting up early, seeing so many people and working with so many people is really how my day goes. And in that day, you'll see some challenges. You'll see restaurants that might need your help, new menu, new food items, working on cost, and just doing what I have to do as a culinarian to play my part in that as well, to keep that spin in the right way, because it's very important to me that restaurants stay open, they stay within trends, they keep on going, and I keep doing things out there on a public level where I have the trust from people that want me to help them out there. You figure about 3, 4 o'clock, things start calming down because a lot of your breakfast places are kind of closing things up, and your dinner places are kind of getting ready to, you know, make their ends meet and totally kill it at night. That's about when I slide into my other things now. A couple days a week, we meet at the studio. We do our crazy food reviews where we're whacking little Debbie snacks in half and on the cutting board with the cleaver in the truck, because we wanted to do that whole food influencer type thing as well. And then we roll into the podcast where we're blessed to have either chefs, restaurants, culinarians, influencers, basically all the players on the field that really contribute to the restaurant and food and beverage and entertainment industry, where I'm just so vested in it that from the start of my day until the end of my day, it's all about the food and beverage, man. And of course, taking care of myself and doing the right thing in between, taking care of the family and showing the love to the people that, stick with me and stay with what I do, because there's people out there that I stick with and I stay with what they do.
And with you being involved in so many different things, how do you have it set up for when you are traveling across the country for a bar rescue for things to keep operating when you're not there?
That's a great question. So we are nothing without our team. We are nothing without the people who support us. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that I'm able to leave and go do things, having a wonderful team, I have IV, restaurant, bar, and consulting. I have a consulting team of people that are constantly working on things and helping me innovate things where if I step out, the wheels keep moving. As well as Real Vegas Catering and Events is our catering company, where once again, we have an amazing team of wonderful people who keep that going also, where they encourage me to go leave and put logs on that fire on a national level. Because what does that do, Matt? It brings awareness to the situation if you keep putting the log on that fire, and the people closest to me have that understanding where they're like, you get out of here and you go do that, because every time we do, we bring that much more awareness and credibility to what it is that we do actually do.
And just where did you get this work ethic and how did it develop for you? And just the discipline too.
I think my father owning that beauty salon in Brooklyn and making me sweep those floors when I was 6 years old really taught me, one, how to stay focused and work, earn a living, but, you know, protect, build, and make better what you have and be grateful for having it, because everyone's different. What falls into your lap falls into your lap. What you go out and get is what you go out and get. And I've had such good examples around me, from my grandfather to my father to the people close to us in our family, to where it's just been embedded to me that you have to go out and get it. And if you don't go out and get it, it's not going to really come to you. So I have that go get it mentality where if I don't take those steps, I might miss what it was that was supposed to be coming to me.
And I listened to that episode where you had your dad on around Christmas time, and he oozes charisma. Super charismatic guy. Can you just talk about how big of an effect, like his charisma and his big personality, rubbing it off on you and kind of perhaps setting you up for success when you made it to TV?
Well, with making a long story short, my 84-year-old dad with his beautiful white hair just wrote a book about an Italian bookie who became an angel.
It's
It's
awesome.
called The Angel Carmine. My father literally wrote a book. It's on
Real.
Amazon. I'm going to give him a plug. It's The Angel Carmine. He's so charismatic because he's an entertainer. He's from the entertainment industry. He's a singer. And, having that in his blood from my grandmother, who was also an Italian singer, they just passed it on down to me and set that example where you got to vibrate on a high level. Because if you believe in yourself and you stay focused and you take your unique gift that has been put in you, whether you inherited it or it just came your way, I was taught to use that to the fullest because it will allow you to be identified as your own unique self. And if you can get the people to support you and look from taking that to the fullest, that's basically my father's theory. Scream as loud as you can so they can see you because no one's going to scream the same way you would. Everybody does it in a different way. And take that own unique way and put it out there and have confidence in it because you'd be surprised, how many people you can touch by just being yourself and, magnifying your talents and what you do.
And I want to get more into your journey, but I want to ask one more fitness and health question. And it's gonna be two questions in one. Is one, what is your workout routine looking like these days? And two, on the last episode, you shared how big a fan you are of eating or drinking your green juice. What are you putting in this green juice? I need to know. Like I want to start getting on the green juice.
Okay, we'll start with the green juice first. Big on the chlorophyll because I have a theory. It makes sense. It's scientific. The sun hits the grass. Trees grow from the sun and the water, right?
Yeah.
Well, think about it. Pretend like you're a tree. You need to water yourself, yes, and you need to get the sun, right? I say if you put the greens in your body that the sun grew with the water, I feel that that's something that's supposed to be in your body that will allow you to function because it's a big connection between the sun and the trees. And I just feel that that theory going through your own body really keeps you clean and growing and looking like that nice tree. The chlorophyll that has the parsley, the celery, I do basil, I do arugula, I do cucumber, and the other one that I've been doing lately, I've been sneaking like the sea moss in there and doing all that stuff. I'm really more advanced on the green juice now than I was a few years, 2 and 3 years ago. I was going more basic. It was more spinach and the basic items. But now I'm finding so many minerals that are growing on this green earth and putting them into my body, and that's really why I'm getting these very happy results where your skin is like if you go out and you get sun and you get vitamin D and you have chlorophyll in your body, if the sun is hitting you and you're drinking your water and you have the greens in your body that the tree would have, and that is making that connection and contact, it just theoretically, it just makes the most sense, doesn't it?
It makes sense to me. This is high level stuff right here.
But yeah, I'd say the last green juice that I drank, apple, little bit of spinach, some sea moss, parsley, and now I sneak the carrot in because I do love the carotene because that's very good for your skin and your eyes, and it kind of gives you that great pigmentation in your skin. But there's so much power in the carrot and the carotene where it just helps out as well. It's not just all about the green, but it's about the minerals on the earth that grow from the sun and the vitamin D hitting it.
Okay. And then workout routine.
Okay, very simple. I don't go too crazy, man. Um, Here's what I basically do. The morning session is going to be no weights. It's going to be more push-ups, stretching, and using your own body. Again, I showed you the push-up board. It's right there.
Oh
I
yeah.
use that push-up board religiously, man. I'm going to duck and get it real quick.
You need to get
This
sponsored
is
at
my
this point.
morning gym right here, Matt.
Yeah.
This thing right here that you can put in the suitcase because you're not always going to have access to the weights. And you can change where you can get different grips, where you can
Yeah.
work out on the closer and the further, where it really stretches you out and it gives you a lot of strength and it does shape and form your body, keeping it good. That's more of the morning stuff with the cup of coffee. And then for the PM session, now we're hitting the weights a little bit. We're bench pressing, we're doing the curls, we're doing the inclines, we're doing the military presses over the head, we're doing our squats, Roman chair. where you're doing like a reverse sit up where you're strengthening your back. As you know, as time goes on and we get older, the back is one of the first things we lose. And so I really focus on that. And the fact that it's your core and you're working on your core, as well as doing the leg raises for the front of your core, that's really what I focus on in the PM. But I don't lift very heavy. I like to lift more in the middle where it's a decent weight and you get a good amount of reps out of it. Like instead of doing 150 pounds 10 times, I rather do 100 pounds 20 times for the range and motion. And I feel that it really does twerk your muscle fibers that much better. And I've had better results doing it that way as opposed to the heavier weight.
And now moving into your journey a little bit, you first, well, learning a little bit more about you, listening to your podcast. When you moved to Vegas at 14 years old, you were a bit of a class clown, kind of around that age, and you like to make people laugh, and you were very good at it. And then a few years later, we're a dishwasher, and now you've had the success that you've had. And my question to you is, what wisdom would you share with your younger self when you were washing dishes? What would you say to yourself? What advice, what wisdom would you share?
Wow, I love that question. I would say what I would share with my younger self, patience, because I didn't have much patience when I was at that stage. I was working just to work. Obviously, the dishwasher job wasn't the job I wanted, but the fact that I was inside of the kitchen wanting to be a chef this whole time, I figured it was my way in. I would tell my younger self, don't be frustrated, stay focused, and learn everything you possibly can around you because not everyone is going to necessarily teach it to you, but teach it to yourself. Write words down that you hear. If you hear a word in the industry that you don't know, write it down, look it up, understand it, master it, and then use it. As opposed to, just kind of trying to get through the day. Because at that point, that's really what I was trying to do. Where I would tell my old self to, take it more serious and be more observant to what's going on around you. Because who knows? I could have been an executive chef before I was even, you know, 23, 24 years old, as opposed to becoming one closer to my 30s. I think I would have been an executive chef that much sooner if I would have been more observant and studied more as opposed to just JOB in it, you know?
And then challenges. What's some adversity that you face in your lifetime and in your career? And how do those challenges help you become the man you are today?
I would say getting passed up for promotions was a big one. I was at a very big hotel company when another hotel company came in and bought them. And everything that I had did to position myself to get promoted kind of got reset because the new guys that came in didn't really know who I was. And I had to prove myself all over again like I just started. I would say crank it up. Don't let anyone hold you back. And if you're not happy somewhere and you deserve something, don't be afraid to go somewhere else and do it. You know, you have your worth. Don't doubt yourself and feel like you have to stay somewhere just because you're comfortable because comfort is a killer, man. You know, if anything, make yourself uncomfortable because it will light you on fire. And that's really when I started moving and grooving, when I took the big leap of faith out there in the previous situations that were stagnant and I shifted and moved to other places. That's how I defeated it because I didn't know until I did it. And in situations where I stood there out of comfort, it really held me back a little bit. And like I'm saying, moving forward and becoming uncomfortable and taking the leap of faith is really what got me most of what you see today.
Yeah, it kind of leads exactly into my next question. And building off that, yeah, very few things ever come from sticking in your comfort zone. Great things rarely will happen. But what was a defining moment for you that really catapulted your career?
I would say in 2008, when I got a phone call from a Food Network competition show trying several years to get on the Food Network Big Show. This one came out of nowhere. It was a catering competition where myself and my friend Chef James, who was actually going to compete against each other at one point, joined forces as a team, went on to Food Network, cooked our buns off against some of the best caterers in the country, gave our all. And at that moment, when we were standing there at the end, when they were about to present the gold medals and the big check that you hold, like on a game show, I said to myself, I've been wanting to be on TV for years. I'm here right now. Is this a fluke? Is it not? As they're about to announce the winner, I looked up at my mother and I said, okay, if I'm supposed to be here and this is the spark to start off my culinary television career, I need to win this thing. And when they announced us, I felt everything that I ever put into everything I ever did, because that's what got me there. And at that point, I was really pleased with the fact that I stuck with something. I got good at it. I took the leap of faith. I went through what I went through, and it confirmed that Chef Vic is supposed to be in the TV world, in the food TV world. And that was the first out of now 90 episodes and 17 years of culinary television. That was the turning point, and that was the big jump for me.
Are you okay if I get deep with you here?
Of
Ask
course. Of course.
All right. So at the beginning of this episode, I heard you say you're not very religious. And I also heard you say, thank the Lord. I heard you say, look up to your mother throughout the course of the episode. And then when I was listening to that Christmas episode, you told Donnie's mom, or, you call her your mom as well, how thankful you are for her prayers. I heard your dad pray on the show. What's your relationship with God?
Okay. So since there are so many religions and there are so many different faiths that people believe in, I decided to take I decided to take the route where I wanted to be understanding to everyone's religion. And I decided to take the spirituality route as opposed to the religious route. Because when you're
Sure.
spiritual, I feel it puts you in a position where you can understand everyone's religion, know that there's a higher power that's in charge of this whole game, that's looking out for you and guiding you and keeping you in line. And it just felt so good growing up as a Catholic, jumping out of religion for so many years and finding the spirituality, because it's such a neutral comfort and understanding where it allows you to really stay in line, mesh with anybody who believes in a higher power, and it gives you someone and something to thank at the end of the day and turn to on those days where things are just not so well. And at the same time, it gives you that energy, like someone you can't even see is rooting for you, whether it's someone that was here at one point or someone that you never met that's rooting for you up in the skies or wherever it is. I don't know if it's in the sky, if it's to the right, if it's to the left, but I do feel like that there's something strong out there above us that's taking good care of us, that wants us to stay in line, be our best, and do the right thing. And the fact that I connected into that years back, that's when I really found my peace and I was able to find my strength to do a lot of the things you see today, from all these crazy things that you see me doing out there to being able to stay healthy, prioritize, and understand, my mission in this world. At one point, helping others wasn't a priority to me, but after I tapped into the spirituality and went through all of this, I feel like I went through it where I have to break some of it off to others so they can be on the same track at the least, uplift them and give them a reminder that, even if you feel alone, you're not alone. Somebody's looking out for you.
Cheers to that. And yeah, just diving back into you, and you talked about before we were recording live, you talked about WrestleMania is going to be Las Vegas this year. And when I think about you, I think about professional wrestling. You're a huge fan of WWE, WWF, and whatever it was before then. And can you just kind of tell the audience, or people who don't know, the impact that professional wrestling has had on you, and how you incorporated what you've learned from pro wrestling into your career on TV?
Okay, absolutely. So Vic Vegas, the chef you see today, was not created for the chef you see today. The character you see with the tattoos, standing on shows like Bar Rescue next to the great John Taffer, and some of the stuff that you've seen me do out there on an animated level, those are remnants from the guy that was supposed to be the wrestler. Wrestling is what originally inspired me from when I was a kid. You know, people want to be an astronaut, they want to do this, they want to do that. I wanted to be a wrestler, and I was working my way to be a wrestler, where I've even had some of the known professional wrestlers out there working with me and getting me ready to do just that. What happened was I had a son early, and that's how I became the dishwasher, where the wrestler in me that was headed to the WCW power plant and some of the wrestling schools and all that wonderful stuff had to come to an end because it was time for this guy to go to work. So, me rolling my sleeves up and getting in there in the dish room and fighting those dishes was the wrestler that couldn't leave, but there was an underlying passion that I had always had with that. So what happens is several years into the working as a chef and cook and in the culinary industry, all of a sudden Food Network starts really becoming big where they want people to come onto their show. And I said, wait a minute, I always wanted to be on TV as a wrestler, but I'm a chef. Maybe we can kind of sort of put the two together and I will be the character somewhat within reason that I was supposed to be folding it into the chef. My goal was to take people out on TV and, throw them down and wrestle them. And I was talking to my family the other day and we were cracking up because here I am on Bar Rescue as an enforcer to John Taffer as one of his right hand men on the show, going into situations and straightening out people in the form of a character, but it's not wrestling.
Yeah,
So my family laughed and said, wait a second, you're still on TV
love that.
getting a little rowdy with people as your character that you had developed for wrestling, but only as a culinarian. So, in a way, even though I wasn't able to do that, I somehow took a little bit of that and folded it into my chef to become this character guy that you guys see today. So that's why when I was on TV in the earlier stages, I really didn't know how to separate the two, or I freaked some people out. You even had Mario Lopez when we had did a cooking competition for him, where when he was judging me, he goes, I don't know what it is with Vic. It's weird. He's got some kind of weird wrestler vibe. He actually said that. There's a clip out there where Mario Lopez said that. And I was terrified at the time because that wasn't my intention. But later on, as I look at it, I went, wow, I never left the wrestler on the corner. I always took the wrestler with me.
You did.
And I think that's what actually allowed me to stand out, combining it with the chef and folding it into entertainment, where it now became food and beverage entertainment, where I still got my way being on TV as an authoritative figure, knocking sense into people, doing it my own way. It still worked out one way or another. I didn't become a WWE wrestler, but I became a culinary enforcer. Go
I
figure.
love that. I know. I think that's the coolest thing. Like, you still got to scratch that itch of being a pro wrestler. You forced it. You created your own lane and your own path to scratch that itch and still really be a pro wrestler in a way, just a different way. And I think that's really, really cool that you found your own lane. And that's something totally off topic, but as someone I also respect is like Jake Paul. A lot of people hate him, and people are going to roll their eyes when I say his name
I
right
don't hate
there.
him. I don't hate
But
him. That guy kicks ass.
the way that he created his own lane, he easily could be working your average job in somewhere in Ohio at a steel plant. But instead, he created his own lane, and now he's a pro boxer. He forced it to do something. He loved to compete, and he found a way to compete, and now he's doing it at a high level. And I respect that, and I kind of see that with what you did. Like you forced your own lane, you forced it to be a thing where you can kind of be a pro wrestler in some sense, and I think that's really really cool. And you're also really ahead of your time too, because nowadays there's so many people out there who play a character or exaggerate themselves for social media or whatever. That didn't exist as much as you were on the come up. Not at all, really. And
Right.
I really respect that you had the vision to kind of be an exaggerated version of character in your come up on TV, because that's very common today. But in 2008, that wasn't that common at all.
Right. And I'm more refined now, I take more of a professional approach as time goes on. But I look back at TV like 5, 8, 10, and 12 years ago, and I crack up. We sit around and we watch that, and it's so entertaining because it was like I got there and then turned into wrestling mode, even in a situation where you weren't supposed to be. There was a clip where Giada De Laurentiis goes, you know, I really like Vic. He does come off rough around the edges, but he'll charm the pants off of you. And I'm like, this is so crazy. Like, these people have accepted me for what I was going to be, folding it into what I am. And that's what got me to where I am. I think if I didn't have that wrestler foundation in me, I don't know if this would have worked out the way it did. So, to answer your initial question, it really helped me completely that I had that characteristic in me because I used to practice in front of the mirror. I used to, you know, really like in my mind, I was crazy. Like I actually thought I was one in situations where you were not supposed to do that. But I didn't care. I stood true to the inner wrestler in my soul.
No, I respect it a lot. I just find that so cool. And I look at you as an example of the American dream where you worked really, really hard, you made good choices, and you weren't afraid of failure. You put yourself out there and you had a vision. And I think that's super, super cool. And
Thanks, brother.
it's inspiring for me. I'm not just trying to say that to blow smoke or anything like that. I genuinely find that super, super cool.
No,
So a
I
lot of
appreciate
respect
that.
for
That's very sincere, my brother. Thank you.
yeah, and so I just want to I'll let you get out of here at a decent time. Before I do that, let's just talk a little bit of Bar Rescue. I want to tell you something, and also after the show, I want to tell you something what I want to carve out in my own lane. I'll tell you that. But
Yeah, we're all about that.
um, yes, but I don't want to talk about myself. But I will talk about myself a little bit right here. And I was at the Blue Line Tavern in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, the bar rescue, or the bar that you helped rescue. And I had a wonderful experience personally. The food was great, service is great. Thought it was really cool. Just talk about that one because I'm a Wisconsin guy. This channel is very Wisconsin based. How did you like your visit to Wisconsin? How much have you been to Wisconsin? And how many times can I say the word Wisconsin?
Well, keep giving the plug to Wisconsin because it was way cool. I loved it. We had a blast, especially the food options. Focusing on using those wonderful cheeses that they have up there.
Yeah.
It was such a tasty food episode that John himself even he goes, "Give me one of those burgers before I go." Where we actually made JT a delicious burger with big Wisconsin cheddar over it that he could take with him after he had completed the show. We really enjoyed it. There was wonderful people up there. You felt a lot of love. They were very warm to us and very welcoming. Where even the people that we worked with in the bar, they were just kind and cool. Yeah, of course, people have their problems, but once John identifies that the bar needs to be rescued and that he sees that the people do want to do the right thing and that they accept the knowledge that he gives them, it becomes a whole different situation. And in Wisconsin, it happened that much faster. It was like they really wanted us there and they embraced our time, who we were, and the lessons that we were putting in front of them. I really did enjoy that. That was one of my favorite episodes. And the fact that you and I have become buddies and that you went in there afterwards, I'm absolutely grateful for that. That you saw something that we all worked hard on
Yeah,
and you went and you patronized them and gave them love, and even better, you enjoyed it because
I did.
nobody's messing around when we go in there. Once JT identifies where we need to go and what we need to do, and the people want it and they embrace it and they fulfill what it is we give them, I get friends like you that say it was absolutely amazing when I went in there. Thank you
Yeah.
for that. That tells everyone how real it really is.
Yes. No, it was really great. And yeah, that one, I stepped out of my comfort zone there, did a little restaurant review. I did a little restaurant review and just like talking, trying not to like people's attention while the camera's recording me. Like, I don't want people seeing I'm talking to a camera. It's just
We
uncomfortable.
saw you.
But
We saw you.
yeah, well, it was meant for you to see me, not the people in the place to see me. But,
It was
it
way
was,
cool.
yeah, no, I had fun, and it was a great experience. You'll have to come back up to Wisconsin. I'm
I would
very
love
proud
to.
of this state. It's a great state.
You should be. You should be.
Yeah, it is a cool place. A lot of cool people
And we,
throughout
we
the
we
state.
were all like, because of like Milwaukee, Laverne and Shirley, and like all that stuff. Being an OG, born in '75, I'd always seen Wisconsin on TV. You know, and the fact that I was there, I felt like I was there before because I had seen so many things in my
Sure.
life that were just amazing, that had touched my heart happening up there, whether it was an old show or even something as simple as eating cheese curds everywhere around the country. We were in Cheese Curd Central. We ate so much cheese that week. It is what it is. That's what you're supposed to do.
Oh
And
hell
I
yeah!
don't drink beer, and I even had a delicious beer up there with some cheese curds. And I'll tell you what, I haven't had a beer since then, but the next time I have a beer, will be up there. It will be up there.
Let's go. It is a cool state. It is really cool. And if you ever come back, I think you got to go to Green Bay and a little area, a little north of Green Bay called Door County, Wisconsin. It's a very wonderful place, but a lot of gems. But Wisconsin got its love. A few more questions, then we'll let Vic get on with this day. But
Sure.
just Vic, a question that I have, we touched on a little bit, was what do we not see the viewer about Bar Rescue? Because my cousin was at one of the bar rescues in Wisconsin, a different one. I think it was in Milwaukee, and he had a blast. He was actually interacting. Him and his buddies waited outside. They were in line for a while. One of his buddies is super into the show and kind of tricked him and said, "Hey, it's at 6. You come. Let's get in line now at whatever 5:30." And really, it was like at 8 or something like that. So they waited in line, but they ended up in there. And my cousin told me that he was interacting a ton with John Taffer, having a blast, and Taffer was kind of going back and forth with his table, and one of his buddies was like keeping track of time for John. And then they were so geared up for the episode. They're like, "Oh, we were having a blast. We were hanging out with John so much," and they're in it for like a flash. And I was just like, they record a lot of stuff in the span of 2-3 days, and they have to trim it to 40-ish minutes. Can you just kind of break that down a
Yeah.
little bit? How hard is
Remember,
it for the crew to get all that into 40 minutes?
well, and that's the thing. They're not like filming a show. They're recording an experience. Like they get all that real stuff that's really happening in real life. I'm glad your friends got a dose of it to see how real it was, how real Taffer is, and how real the interaction is and everything going on. Their challenges is they have a couple days worth of stuff that they have to get the most nutritional, you know, pieces of it to put it together and make a show. Because again, they're filming an experience that they now have to highlight and turn into the show. It's so real. I've done 36 of them over a 12-year time frame, and there's times I leave there and I'm like, wow. Either like some of these people are insane. I can't believe how crazy they are, because that's the big question I get. Are these people really this crazy? And I'm like, listen, I'm like, we wouldn't be there if they weren't. And our big challenge is to really get these people to focus on what it is that we need to show them. And production, they have so many different moving parts. That's why your friends were only in there for a few seconds, even though they were there for a long time. And I'm glad they got to see the long line and everybody that supports that show in real life. There's so many moving parts where I gotta give it to the production team on how they put it together, and they choose the right things that have occurred to be able to broadcast that to the wonderful viewers. It's such a challenge, but they pull it off every time.
So I'm going to ask you two questions in one just for time constraints. And I'm going to say one is, how do you get a call that there's an opportunity for you to be in an episode with a restaurant? And two, building off of that, is there a certain type of restaurant John likes to call you in for?
It's funny. Okay, I'm going to get to the second question second. For on your first question, they have a bunch of great experts, a whole array of them where they take the right one and they put it in the right situation. They have to analyze the situation first to see what type of restaurant and bar it is, what type of people work there, and then they will go, John and the team will strategically choose the right expert that's supposed to join John to be able to fulfill the goals that need to be reached. And that's when they say, okay, let's call Jason, let's call Phil, because they have to put the right person in the situation because their knowledge and what they specialize in is really needed to be able to crack the code for that situation. On the second hand, I don't know if Taffer's going to remember this, but years ago, we were all sitting around and I said something like, "Hey, this expert does Latin food. This expert does Middle Eastern food. This expert does fine dining." I'm like, "What do I do?" And somebody said, "High hazard episodes." And I looked at John, and I hope if he ever sees this, he remembers this. And I look at John, and I'm like, "High hazard episodes." He goes, "Well, look at you. You're so colorful." You know, meaning I'm that right hand guy in some of these odd situations where, I notice I get called for when things could possibly stir up and get a little bit out of control. If you go to the 100th episode where we had to go to the big biker bar with the softball field in the middle of
Oh yeah.
nowhere, if you see that episode right before one of the commercials, it shows the biker going at John because John ain't gonna, he ain't gonna sit down. He doesn't care who you are. If he's got to send a message to you, he is going to, regardless on what the consequences are. And it shows the guy jumping at John, and it's like it shows me and this wrestler guy. He looked like Greg the Hammer Valentine, and here we go again with the wrestling stuff. And I'm
Yes,
like
sir.
somewhat wrestling this guy into the commercial break until the security comes and gets him off. So I had my own little wrestling match. I believe it was in Minnesota. It was episode 100, and it was just such a crazy freaking situation where that nut job went at Taffer. And being next to Taffer, you got a job to do. That's the man himself. He's already tough as it is, but we ain't gonna let nobody go at our guy.
Yes, sir. And you, the reason I reached out to you is because my fiance and I, you were our favorite on TV. We love the episodes that you were in, and you've been John's right hand man for so many years. And now we've seen some guest led episodes. Can we see a Vic Vegas led bar rescue episode? That's what I want to see.
When it comes to that, I have so much respect for the show, and they know what they need to do with you. Do I feel that in my future down the road, I'm going to be, doing some great stuff where I'm working a situation and making some decisions? Absolutely. But if this was the A team, I am their Mr. T. And, you know, it would almost be odd if you saw Mr. T running the A team. It's not a stay in your lane thing. It's play your position to the fullest. I'm the
Sure.
right hand man in the Bar Rescue series, not so much of a host. I have hosted before. I love to host. And if they ever asked me, I would absolutely jump in for them and I would smack one over the fence for them. But
I love it.
my focus is to be that right hand man enforcer that is used as needed for what's needed for.
And we'll have Vic back on the program soon. I got more questions. I could pick your brain for 3 hours straight. But the one more question just about Bar Rescue is, after you're done recording and you fly back to Las Vegas, Do you follow up with the owners? Do you reach out? Do you see how the restaurants are doing? Do you stay in touch?
I know that the bar rescue team does do that. Obviously, there's going to be time before the episode comes out from the time it's filmed. There's a turnaround time where, the work now has to be done by the amazing production team. But I do like to stay in contact with the cooks because years ago, I used to go in there rah, 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 to the cooks, where a couple years back, they let me more focus on the cook because the cook sometimes is a victim of circumstance where they want to be a culinarian and they're frustrated and it looks like they're miserable and that they're the problem when they are not. It's the lack of support from the owner. So I have a soft spot in my heart for a lot of the cooks and the culinarians, and I do like to keep tabs on them and stay in contact with some of them, and I still do talk to some of them today.
Let's go. So let's hop on into our rapid fire round. Got a lot of great questions for you. You know the drill. I'll give you a question, answer in a timely fashion. The first question I got for you is, what was your favorite wrestler in the 80s? Or who was your favorite wrestler?
My favorite wrestler in the 80s. So we're going 80s, huh?
I'm going to go 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s.
I love Jake the Snake Roberts.
That's 80s. Let's go 90s.
Ultimate Warrior.
2000s.
Mm. Sting.
And then 2010s.
Bret Hart.
Let's go. Let's go. And then, okay, so what's one ingredient you couldn't live without?
One ingredient I can't live without.
Yeah,
Basil.
basil. Okay.
I even got it right here.
That's awesome.
Literally.
And then, do you have a dish that you hate making but people always ask for?
Yes, I'm not the best baker in the world, but somehow I make an unbelievable apple pie and it's a lot of work. But when I'm asked for it, I do it. I'm like, yeah, I'll make you an apple pie. It's probably the only thing out of the baking that I do right. But hey, if you're going to bake something right, why not do America's favorite?
Yes, sir. And then, one food you refused to eat as a kid that you love now?
Spinach.
Spinach. Okay, that's a
Spinach
good
is my
one.
life. And when I was a kid, my father was old school. You're not leaving the table until you finish that. So then I thought I was slick and I would hide it under stuff and mash it into stuff. And he would find it and be like, just because it's now even more disgusting and mashed into stuff, we're not leaving this table until you eat it. So we would be at the table for a couple hours, old school Italian style, where the spinach would almost make me vomit. And now I'm like, I wake up and I'm like, I need a green juice with spinach. It's so weird.
And then, what is the worst failure you've seen in the kitchen?
Worst failure I've seen in the kitchen years ago when I worked for one of the hotels, I would say when somebody came into the banquet room where we were all cooking because there's so many different banquet halls and so many different events. And when there was a room full of important people and the servers came in and asked us if the food was ready for that event, and we said, "What food?"
That's rough. That's rough.
Yeah,
Um, and then you're cooking in the kitchen. What kind of music are you playing?
rock, rap,
Rock.
opera.
Okay. What's your dream vacation spot?
Since I've never left the US, I want to go to Hawaii soon.
Yeah, that's actually that's a great answer. And then, what is a hidden talent you have outside of cooking?
I would say inspiration.
Okay.
Somehow, whether it's a talent or a way of life, I don't know if it's going to be considered as a talent, but it's not really easy to inspire people. So I think I'm going to put it under the talent list because I know I'm doing it now. And I feel that I have embraced the skills to be able to put that out there and magnify it. Where, if it's something that not everyone can do and it impacts people and it changes things, at the same time, it entertains them and keeps them on track, I feel that that's a talent.
And then I think this will be the last one for today. One meal you'd serve to impress a world leader.
I would say my Chilean sea bass with my corn broth under it, with my crispy leeks on top of it, and my wonderful fingerling potato guanciale beef cheek hash that goes under it. Now, if the world leader does not eat any type of meat product, I would just
Yeah.
leave the guanciale out and still serve this wonderful sea bass because it's the one dish that I make that I sneak in where I call it my home run dish, where it could be the mayor, it could be somebody that has a star on Sunset Boulevard. That dish always wins. So I'm going to go with my Chilean sea bass.
Right. And I lied. This is the last question. And I asked you this last time. How hungry are you right now for more in your career?
I feel like a cobra that's ready to strike.
Let's
I
go.
feel that everything that I have done up until this day is going to set me up for the next level. Because to touch on your question earlier, I know my place on Bar Rescue as a supporting role to be part of that show. And I feel that since I have done a combination of so many things, I have now gotten myself ready for what's known as what is next. And it's time to take the leap of faith and soon become that show host.
Let's go. I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, this was Vic Vegas. And Vic, thank you very much for your time. Had a blast. Hope you guys learned something along the way. And Vic, looking forward to staying in touch.
Much love to you, my friend. I appreciate you so much having me on your show again. Thanks for being a good friend and supporting what I do. Much love to you and your family and everything you do, my man. I'm here if you need anything, podcast or not. Give me a call, brother. I miss you already.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you very much. And everyone, have a good one. We'll see you soon.